You've just performed in front of millions. The world is arguing about you online. Every move you make becomes a headline within minutes. Most people assume the night ends with parties, loud music, celebrity crowds. But Travis described something different. He said that after the noise, all he wanted was to go home, take off the pressure, and return to routine. Routine. That single word surprised people. Because when fans imagine a relationship between one of the NFL's biggest personalities and the world's most famous pop star, they imagine constant excitement. Private jets. Endless celebrations. Luxury, without pause. But what if the strongest part of their relationship wasn't excitement at all? What if it was repetition? Comfort. Ordinary habits repeated quietly every day. And that realization raises a question most viewers didn't expect to ask themselves. What actually happens when two of the most visible people on Earth close the door and nobody is watching? Celebrity stories usually survive on spectacle. We see entrances, outfits, performances, touchdowns, award speeches. We rarely see mornings. We don't see tired conversations over coffee. We don't see disagreements about schedules. We don't see the invisible effort required to stay emotionally grounded when the entire world feels entitled to your life. That's why Travis's small comments mattered so much. He didn't reveal secrets. He revealed patterns. And patterns tell the truth about people. Psychologists often say relationships aren't defined by grand gestures, but by daily rituals, the repeated behaviors that signal safety. When Travis spoke about cooking nights, quiet evenings, and protecting downtime, fans suddenly realized something unexpected. Their relationship didn't look like a celebrity fantasy. It looked normal. And strangely, that made it more fascinating. Because millions of people weren't just watching a romance. They were watching two extremely driven individuals trying to build something stable inside instability. And that's where our story really begins. Long before their names became linked, their lives followed completely different rhythms. Travis's world ran on impact. Early mornings, film study, practice repetitions until muscle memory erased out. A culture where performance was measured in seconds and inches. Football demanded presence, physicality, immediate results. Taylor's world operated differently. Her success came from emotional precision. Writing late at night, shaping experiences into lyrics, living inside feelings long enough to translate them into music millions could recognize as their own. One lived in stadium collisions. The other lived in storytelling. And yet both lives shared something invisible. Extreme expectation. Every season, Travis had to prove he was still elite. Every album, Taylor had to prove she could reinvent herself again. Failure wasn't private for either of them. It trended. And people forget what constant evaluation does to a person. It slowly removes silence from your life, until silence becomes the rarest luxury. When the public first began noticing their connection, reactions were loud and immediate. Speculation exploded. Was it publicity? Was it temporary? Was it just another celebrity moment? But insiders noticed something quieter. They weren't rushing to display everything. There were appearances, yes, games attended, smiles captured, celebrations shared. But between those public flashes were long stretches of absence. No posts. No announcements. Just space. And that space became the clue. Because people who live under constant attention rarely choose privacy unless it serves a purpose. Travis later hinted that they intentionally protected ordinary time. Not exciting time. Ordinary time. And that decision would shape everything that followed. After games, adrenaline doesn't disappear immediately. Athletes describe it as a lingering storm inside the body. Your heart still races hours later. Your mind replays moments repeatedly. Travis explained that one of the most grounding parts of his routine became simple decompression. No crowds. No loud environments. Just slowing down. Sometimes that meant watching something random on television. Sometimes late-night conversations that had nothing to do with football or music. And this surprised fans the most. They weren't constantly discussing fame. They were intentionally escaping it. Because when your identity becomes public property, the most intimate act is being seen as just a person. Not a brand. Not a headline. Just someone tired after a long day. And that's where their quiet home life began to take shape. Visitors reportedly noticed something unexpected. The environment didn't feel like a celebrity showcase. It felt lived in. Comfort over perfection. Blankets instead of aesthetic staging. Music playing casually instead of curated moments. This mattered psychologically. High-performance individuals often crave environments where they don't have to perform, where nobody is measuring charisma or productivity, where silence isn't awkward. And Travis hinted that their evenings often revolved around grounding routines, shared meals, winding down, resetting schedules. Nothing dramatic, but consistency builds emotional trust. And trust, unlike fame, grows slowly. Fans began piecing together clues. Why did Travis sound calmer during interviews? Why did Taylor appear more relaxed during certain appearances? Why did both of them emphasize balance more than ever before? Something was changing. Not externally. Internally. And then Travis mentioned something small during a casual conversation, something most people almost missed. He talked about daily structure, about making time intentionally, about protecting mornings. It sounded ordinary. But for two people whose calendars were controlled by global demand, choosing routine was almost rebellious. Because routine means choosing stability over chaos. And that single decision would quietly reshape their relationship. But what happened next revealed just how fragile that balance really was. Because fame doesn't disappear when you close the door. Sometimes it follows you inside. There's a moment every public couple faces. The moment when outside narratives begin competing with private reality. Every gesture gets interpreted. Every absence becomes speculation. And slowly, the world starts writing a story about you that may or may not be true. Imagine waking up and seeing strangers debate your relationship as if they were witnesses inside your home. That pressure forces a choice. Either you perform for expectations, or you retreat into authenticity. Travis suggested they chose the second option. But that choice came with consequences. Less visibility meant more rumors. More rumors meant more scrutiny. And suddenly, protecting quiet habits became essential survival. The nights became slower. Phones were put away earlier. Schedules were negotiated carefully. Not because they were avoiding the world, but because they were trying to stay themselves inside it. And then came a turning point, a moment so small most people overlooked it, that revealed exactly why these daily habits mattered more than grand gestures ever could. A moment that showed what happens when two unstoppable careers finally collide with a need for stillness. And no one saw it coming.